The first time I heard the name Nelson Mandela, I was in prison. Firstly, naked, and next to me, my cousin was lying on the ground, dead, after torture. Today, I stand behind you, in front of you, and behind you, free. Also wearing a suit with my favorite color, and here believing that you would be the extraordinary people that would help justice to be served. Today I have three things I would like to talk to you about. Three words, I would say. Those are responsibility, hope, and of course, justice. In the question of responsibility, I feel it's always either a burden or an empowerment. So let me start with the first one. The guards in the prison where I was used to come every single day and say, choose one of you to be executed. You're sitting in a room with 35 people, you know all of them. Some of them are your friends for years. And now we all have to choose someone who will be executed. I can't say, choose me, I don't want to die. You don't want to die either, so you don't point at yourself. We were forced to build a mechanism so we can be as just as possible. Simply, we made a lottery. We put the 35 names and we pull one of them. And it could be you. It could be me. And death is painful. You don't want to die. You don't want to lose the beautiful memories you have. You don't want to lose the hope that you will never see your beloved ones. And day after day, my friends were picked, were taken just a few meters behind me, and they were executed. I could hear them trying to scream, but they couldn't, because they were not allowed. Even when they beat you, not allowed to scream. But how long can you be there and not be chosen? I was chosen. My name was announced, and the procedure is like that. When they say your name, you go back to the middle of the room. The guards open the door. They come in. They beat you to death. And if there is no one in the middle of the room, they could kill 5. They could kill 10. They could kill 35. So someone needs to be in the middle. And I was chosen. It was the lottery. And justice needs to be served. I go back to the middle of the room before the guards enter the room. They still walking in the corridor, coming towards our room, and I standing on my knees, my hands on my eyes, and the guards coming very, very slowly towards our room. And when the door get opened, I wake up, and behind me, my friend is dead. And everybody, the guards left the room, and everybody's looking me in the eye, shaming me for what I did. But I didn't do anything. I was in the middle of the room to be executed. I had no option, and also was ready to die. I've been tortured for years. I couldn't do it anymore. But somehow, in a time of less of a second, I didn't notice anything. I was not conscious. Suddenly, I walked back to the group of people. And if you walk back again, they kill 5. They could kill 10. Someone volunteered to run back, to be in the middle of the room, and to die, so I can live. Everybody looks at you disappointed. And that's, I can tell you, is worse than torture in these circumstances, because torture becomes normalized over time. They beat you and they beat you until you don't feel the pain anymore. But when your closest ones are disappointed, that's when you feel hurt. because you hurt everyone else. And that's exactly the time when responsibility changed from being a burden to being a responsibility. I had to find a creative way where I actually can help people survive. I knew if I am chosen to be back in the middle of the room tomorrow, I may fail again, someone else may die. If nobody goes back to the room, 5 people may die. I can't do that again. So I have to think about creative ways by which I can help people survive. And I had the privilege of being the prisoner, who was the youngest prisoner, who was chosen by the guards to collect all the dead bodies and take them to the death room where they collect the corpse. I go there every day and they give me a pen and a paper and I start registering everyone who dies. But the people who die in prison are two kind. The people who said under the torture, they were forced to give a false confession that they killed officers even though no officers were killed, and the other ones who refused to give a false confession. And with me, there were my 2 cousins, Bashir and Rashad. Bashir, under torture, he was forced to say he killed people, and Rashad refused to say. But Rashad died first, and his file is clean. If he goes to court, he will be freed because he had no confessions. But he died first. What I discovered is I have the ability to switch the files. When I'm numbering the dead people, I can give Rashad's name to his brother Bashir. And with him, with the name, goes the file. And that's when we started to save lives. People who died, we could use their testimonies, we could use their stories to save the lives of the ones who had to change their names. Hope is either a tool for manipulation or a tool for change makers. I have the most beautiful mother you could ever imagine, but also the strongest, the smartest. I can keep counting these things for a long time. And when I was arrested, my mom was informed by the intelligence services that I died. And they had my funeral, but nobody, because when you die in the branches of the intelligence services in Syria, they give nobody. So they had a funeral, symbolic one, and then a man came to my mom and said, "Your son is alive. If you pay me $30,000, I will get you your son." My mom paid without thinking about it, and that man disappeared. There was no guarantees. And my mom realized I am probably dead, and people are going to try to trick her because they were playing on her emotional challenges and the fact that she just lost her husband because my father and 2 brothers were killed by the regime in a massacre in my hometown, and she had a hope that she will gain something back, at least her son, who may be alive somewhere. So people came to her, offered help, but it was all fake. My mom paid multiple times, but then she had to give up and say, "My son died." And she refused to pay anyone else. Until another man came and said, "Don't pay me anything until I bring your son. That's the operation I plan to have, and he is alive." Her hope was used against her. Her hope that I'm alive was used against her multiple times. But on Tuesday afternoon in 2015 in June, the guards came to the room where I was, and they called me by my name in a prison where they only say your name if you announce for execution. Otherwise, you are just a number. And I don't know if people can understand that, but I was ready to die. And I was not afraid of dying. They said my name, I hug the first person I have next to me, and I say, "I'm sorry if I did anything wrong to anyone. I'm sorry if I thought about doing anything wrong for anyone. I'm sorry if I did whatever I did. I'm just sorry for everything." Because I wanted people to remember me positively when I die. Because if someone gets out and share a story about me, or I want them to have a good memory of me. And they took me, put me in another room, 48 hours, every hour the watch of the guard would peep, and the guard would come and tell me, "How do you want me to kill you? Be creative. Give me a creative answer." And I always been creative, even in the worst places you could ever imagine. I gave so many creative answers of how you kill a human being, because that's what I was living through for the last 3 years. And 2 days later, they put me in the execution field, load, aim. It's a beautiful moment when you know you're dying in a second. It's very beautiful because you're dying. There's nothing you can do, but there's something that happens. The beautiful memories of the people that you were denied meeting, they all come to your in front of you, to your head, to your eyes, and it feels like they are so real. My mom, who I haven't seen in years, now with my imagination, at that second I feel like she is here with me. It feels like I can hug her, even the girl I was in love with. And exactly when the moment is extremely beautiful, that is exactly when they shoot. And I never died before. It was the first time I died, so I had no imagination of what would happen when I die. I was very excited. It didn't hurt. If death doesn't hurt, I could have killed myself 3 years ago, instead of going through torture and starvation. I woke up and I was picked from there, and I thought that was the way to afterlife. A car picks you up. It's technology there in afterlife too. And the car picked me up, and a man told me, I am taking you to meet your mom. Being smuggled out of prison, and it was all a mock execution for the pleasure of the guards, not much more than that, but you're taken to meet your mom. She was tricked so many times. She was forced to give money so many times for information about me, if I'm alive or not. And they manipulated her many times, but she ended up using her hope to find a way, an operation, to get me out of prison. Justice is a multi-step process. It's not one thing. You don't just bring the criminal and you put them in prison for their crime. That's not complete justice. There's another part of it, another step, at least one other step of it, and that's healing. For my mom, who was forced to see her husband and 2 of her sons be killed in front of her eyes, and lose the other one for 3 years and have a funeral for that one, putting the guards or the people who did that in prison doesn't bring her husband back. For me, nothing. Nothing can bring me back 3 years of my life where I was supposed to be in high school, going to prom, which I missed. Nothing can bring that back, even if you arrest every single person who's been involved and you put them in prison for forever. What brings back what I lost, what brings back the people that disappeared, is not just the court. It's for me to achieve what these people died for. We went out to the street in Syria asking for freedom and democracy, and we were faced by guns and violence, and the regime 12 years later is still doing that with the help of Russia and Iran and China and so many countries. I can name so many endless countries. Because dictators, they are so good at collaborating, working together, supporting each other. And that's why it's so nice to see so many people here together, coming for something good. Hopefully it's something that could be used to serve justice. Justice cannot be served if you don't have the passion to work for justice. Justice cannot be served if it's an activity you pursue only for competition. A competition is a great start. I'm sitting there, I want to be a lawyer now. I hate reading and writing, but I want to be a lawyer because it's so exciting. And that excitement is something you need to invest in. Because when you hear, you're going to know who is the winner. Regardless if you win or not, you're going to be happy that you participated because you delivered something. It's difficult to be questioned, as they mentioned. It's very challenging to sit on that chair and everybody's looking at you and judging every single move, the way you're putting your glasses on your hair or the way you talk, and so it's tough. But you've done that. and you're excited, and you may be excited for a few more days. Those are the few more days where you have to take and make good decisions. Because over time, it gets normalized and you lose the excitement. And if you lose it, it's difficult to make decisions based on your passion. So what I used to say to people is that if you are like me, hate reading and writing, never write an article to bring awareness about anyone's crisis, because you will suck at writing and nobody's going to read your op-ed, right? But if you love public speaking, you should definitely be on stage. The reason for that is that if you do something you hate doing to help the people you care about, you're going to get tired. And the crises we are talking about here are long-term crises. They take 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years. So if you lose your passion after a month, you're not doing any good. You need to be consistent with your actions. And you cannot be consistent unless you're doing something you love. I wrote a few articles. I hated that time, but I don't write again. And even if I'm going to write, someone else needs to help me with that, because it consumes too much energy. But if you give me the stage for 500 hours, I would deliver speeches without blinking, because I love it. And guess for how long I can do that? 1 year, 10 years, 30 years, 50 years, until I die. I can be very consistent with it, and it brings me joy. When I do it, I get empowered, and that's what you need to look for. What is your talent? What is something you love doing? How can you use what you love doing to help the people you care the most about? Because there is always a connection. There is always a connection you can make. And I want to leave you with this. I won't call it a message or a conclusion. I will just leave you with this. Don't live in or leave from this world without leaving a legacy. And to build a legacy, you need to be curious. You need to be courageous. You need to be humane. And in order for you to be humane, you need to defend the human rights, at least, when the opportunity is presenting itself. So for you and for me, at this age, with that much mess in the world, we have so many war and violations against your human rights, and refugees are struggling in every corner of this planet. The opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, is presenting itself for you to contribute. So when you leave this room, leave it with the thought, what's my talent and how I can use it to help the people that I care about? And I am sure there's a lot of people you care about. Good luck, and thank you.